Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us. It is April 1st. I am Kaitie Zhee with the PegNet Weekly Update. Joined with me, I have David Johnston and Paul Snow.
Hey, everybody.
Howdy.
Hey, hey. So this week, there's a lot of exciting things as always, one of which is that we are adding new tokens to PegNet. And with the rollout of that, David, do you want to touch on the latest tokens that are being added?
Sure. As everybody knows, you need at least 100 million in market cap and 5 million in daily trading volume. So there's a really hot new token. People may have noticed at the top of CMC, toilet paper token, that has even passed Bitcoin now in value. And so it definitely qualifies for getting listed on PegNet. So I think the developer is going to be really eager to go ahead and get that added as a P asset. I mean, it's so hot that it's currently totally sold out. So this is like the perfect time to get it on PegNet, because then they can have effectively like a synthetic version of that token they can't get on the regular market. So I think that'll be incredible for our users. And these are the kind of things we really need to get added to the system. So maybe Paul can talk about, the integration and what that really involves and how much effort it will take.
Well, the integration is we've talked to all of the developers. They've taken a swipe at it, and it looks like it's just going to be a clean wipe to put the whole toilet paper token onto the PegNet. And one of the other developers was talking about how much synergy there is between our P assets and the toilet paper token. Right. This is just going to be going to take the market, by storm, or at least by the drawstrings.
Right. No, and you want tokens that are going to maintain their value and that aren't going to dump, right? So that they can continue to go over those requirements. So I think this is a clear, obvious example of the kind of thing we should add. So check out CoinMarketCap. If you haven't seen it yet, the meteoric rise of this token has been incredible.
Right. And I should point out there was an article in, I think it was in The Economist, that pointed out that part of the problem with the base asset of the toilet paper token, the actual toilet paper, is that its market is steady. It turns out that a steady supply of the asset is required for its basic purpose. It turns out this isn't seasonal. People don't actually use more toilet paper in the summer and less in the winter. People pretty much have a relatively steady demand for this asset. But the nature of that in the industry is that it isn't able to scale because it can't scale up or scale down, because the industry has been conditioned and optimized to produce exactly the amount required. Now, when this current crisis is hit and people suddenly, the demand rose, you ended up with a huge instability of the token. Well, what the PegNet allows us to do is create the synthetic asset that can rise and fall with that demand, which means you have a huge opportunity in the PegNet with the new toilet paper.
It's effectively all the benefits of a stable coin with all the benefits of a dynamic variable token.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so that's exciting. Katie, do you want to talk about what else is coming along?
Sure. All right, I can't hold it in anymore. April Fools, everybody. Yeah. April Fools. If you didn't figure that one out yet, with all of the innuendos there of tokens you don't want to dump, and we're going to roll it out, and yeah. But that was fun. I couldn't contain myself. I was on mute the whole time. So let's see. Back to real news with PegNet, there will be, sadly, no toilet paper token. P asset being added at this time. However, there are lots of other developments underway. So we are flushed with joy to announce some of those. So some of these are exactly what I've been waiting for a little while now, that I think is hugely critical to adoption and getting more people onboarded with PegNet, which is the mobile wallet. And David and Paul, I don't know if you want to touch on how that's coming along and what the community can expect in the coming
years. Sure. So just call out for testers. If you're interested in testing out the mobile wallet, the new web wallet, or the trading tools, jump into Discord, pegnet.org/chat, and it'll take you to the Discord link. There's both channels for testing out the trading bots, the trading tools, as well as the web wallets. And just ask for an invite, and I'm sure the developers will shoot you one over so you can give it a try. But to give people a basic preview, we've already talked about the fact that we're integrating TradingView, which is the popular software used by traders, about 3 million of them around the world, in order to do conversions inside of your PegNet wallet, but triggered by the scripts you've already got in TradingView. So if you've been watching the price of Ether and you want to buy if it hits $100 or sell if it hits $200, those alerts can now be pushed into your PegNet wallet. So you can do a conversion for 1/10 of a penny based on that information. So this is sort of, I think, a great strategy, because it's don't reinvent the wheel. We don't need to rebuild the 3 million person trading community. It's already there. Let's just go hook into those tools. So the TradingView integration is already done. So if you're a TradingView user, by all means, jump into Discord, get an invite. And I expect probably there'll be a more public version that we post without an invite, probably early next week. So, but if you want to get access, you can get access right now. The webhooks and everything is live, and people have been testing it out in the community for the last few weeks. So thank you to all the people that have jumped into the testing channel. The next integration is a full arbitrage bot that you can set up and that can go between your PegNet wallet and your exchange wallets. So be able to buy a pegged asset, pull it into your wallet, convert it into something else, put it back on an exchange. That's now all possible through the arbitrage module. So that'll be the second version, or the second module available in the trading tools website. So I'm gonna put up a dedicated website just for these tools, and the goal is to release them to the community so as many people as possible can use them. And then people have also made other great suggestions, like there's a library called CCXT, which is cryptocurrency trading tools. And this is used by a lot of traders and market makers that want to send an order to an exchange. And basically this is a standardized way of sending those orders across all the major exchanges. So instead of bringing people up the learning curve of all the nuances of PegNet, this would allow them just to use their normal order tools, their normal scripts, to send an order to PegNet as if it was an exchange. But it really just does a conversion inside their own wallet. So those are the 3 things that are coming on the trading tools, which I'm really excited about, because it'll vastly lower the barrier for most people to access PegNet. And then the last item is a native mobile wallet for P assets, send, receive, convert, all that basic functionality. It's in final testing right now. If you want to test it out, let us know. But there'll be a web, Android, and iPhone version available soon, probably also sometime next week. Some of that is variable based on how long it takes to get through approval of the Play Store and the App Store. And typically the App Store can take the longest. So probably come out as web form first, then Android form, and then iPhone form last. But all in development, and jump on in, and you can help us find bugs and suggest features and all that good stuff.
Thanks, David. Paul, do you have anything to add to some of what David's touched on?
No, not really, but I just signed up myself on the account, so I'm looking at it. It looks clean and simple.
Cool.
Yep.
That's what's needed for adoption. Definitely something that's easy to use for people. That's the goal, right? One of the things that I really do want to touch on in this week's weekly update and probably ongoing, I just feel that with everything that's going on in the economy today globally and also domestically in the United States, with the fiat currency and some of the new policies that are being put in place with 0% zero percent interest.
It's negative interest.
Negative interest rates. Thank you, Paul. I just feel that this is a topic that can't really kind of be worn out at this time. And as it relates to PegNet, PegNet was built to withstand these kinds of times that we in cryptocurrency saw coming. We just didn't think it was coming now, or we didn't know when it was coming, but here we are, and the tools are already built. There's no putting this back in the toothpaste, back in the tube, as they say. And so I don't know if, David, if you want to touch on, and I know, Paul, you mentioned great article that you read. David, you spoke to someone who owns a bank that is experiencing issues with wiring, and just some of these issues that we these the average consumer day to day and are going to continue to feel as
Sure.
we move forward.
Well, yeah, happy to speak about the wires, and then Paul, I think, has some great points about sort of how this affects the risk profile for stable coins, traditional, reserve-based stable coins. In the case of the wires, so 90% of Fed wires are still sent manually. As most people know, most of the branches are closed due to the quarantine. I don't know how much those employees are able to work from home, and so unfortunately, there may be a slowing of wires, and that's what I'm hearing from friends in the banking industry, is that they're trying to process wires and they're getting delayed or canceled, and they're not really sure why, and it probably has something to do with a shortage of people to do all those manual processes. So in a world where we have a fully automated, permissionless, no man in the middle type of system, this really shines because we don't have those vulnerabilities. PegNet and crypto in general don't have those vulnerabilities of needing somebody at a bank branch to complete the process. And so, I think that's really compelling. And as this situation intensifies, like, those shortcomings of the existing system are just going to be more and more obvious. And so I think it's very timely that we have a solution that people need. And if they literally can't get their money out of an ATM and they can't wire it, then maybe converting into crypto is the easiest way for them to be able to move value, right? And hopefully they can do that through an ACH or some other means. But it's a very interesting situation and sort of black swan event that the world financial system is in the middle of. But let Paul speak about some of the economics I think are really interesting.
Well, the problem with reserve-backed stable tokens is complex, but the point to make is that we've done this before. We've had paper-backed reserve tokens, basically dollars issued against the gold standard, or other currencies issued against gold worldwide over centuries, and they've always failed, and they've failed due to a number of reasons that more or less apply to stable coins that are backed by reserves today. First of all, you have to put the reserve somewhere. So when you're talking about currencies, that means that the reserves are in a bank for real world currencies that are backing stable coins. So Tether, USD, is it USDC? Why do I say C?
Yeah.
But is that right? and a bunch of these others. So there's a bank involved. That also means that someone has to hold the wallet, which means it's a centralized coin. And when you have a centralized organization that deals with banks, you're also a regulated entity, either informally by the bank who puts certain stipulations on you in order for them to hold your accounts, or by governments increasingly. If we look at the legislation that's being written around Libra, the government is getting very interested in regulating the entities that sit on top of stablecoins. So these coins are, by their nature, centralized. Now, centralized means that they can be shut down. So anyone who is using these tokens is carrying on more or less some risk of government action. Now, the government action can be triggered by any event in the economy or in the financial sector. For example, if there is a large terrorist event or a large human trafficking event or a huge drug event that happened to involve one of the stable coins, it could lead to an immediate action that could threaten the users of those tokens. Lastly, reserves in the crypto world have largely been established with the promise of a one-to-one backing of the token. So if you have a dollar's worth of Tether, there's a dollar backing it somewhere. It's not a fractional reserve. In fact, any hint of being fractionally reserved in a stable coin in the crypto world right now is met with a great deal of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So we're expecting them to be one-to-one backing. But as much as 3% of any active cryptocurrency is lost every year. And so maintaining the one-to-one backing over decades, over the years, is going to slowly accumulate reserves that are locked, and they can never be moved. It becomes a eternal obligation on the part of the issuer to maintain that token in order to keep one-to-ones, and so backed reserve. So what inevitably has happened historically is you slowly slip into fractional reserves, and that's so you're only holding in reserve enough tokens to support what is estimated to be the supply. But that's only an estimate. If the estimate's wrong, then the reserves fail, and then you're risking runs. And when you have a run on the bank, that depletes the resources. If you have a run on a stable coin, it depletes its resources. And so this is a problem. The last problem that's kind of the existential risk is the fact that almost none of the users actually can access the reserves. In other words, you can't convert your tokens into the reserve currency. And that's because with all of the banking regulations and whatnot, if you're in Africa or South America, or if you're an unbanked person and you have these tokens, you obviously don't have the credentials to pass KYC AML in order to get an account, in order to access the actual dollar reserves. So this means that the stability of the token is backed by arbitrage. But then as the barriers for the amounts of trades required in the real world to maintain stability across all markets increases the need to move greater sums, you basically, the arbitrage that's supporting the price across the market becomes more and more centralized because there are very, very few parties that can qualify to make the trades of the required size to maintain stability. And as that becomes more and more centralized, that's yet another attack vector for mistakes like losing your keys, hacking, government intervention, regulators, and even just chaos in exchanges themselves. Exchanges get closed down and opened up, and the arbitrageurs may have time periods to take to adjust themselves to maintain the stablecoin. So basically, my point being that centralized reserve-based stablecoins may be a pretty good risk now, but over time, these risk factors have a tendency to accumulate, and the risk over time becomes untenable. All reserve-based paper or tokens, because paper is just a different kind of token, all reserve-based tokens have failed historically for hundreds of years. I don't see any innovation that we have today with reserve-based tokens that makes them safer, and a number of things that make them more risky.
Paul, those are all really, really good points. And I think one of the things to highlight and to continue to highlight with PegNet is that particularly for those who are in their fund managers, they're financial experts, and they are managing large sums of money, this is when they're really paying attention and how do they best protect their assets, right? And having the ability to move their values in and out of assets and asset classes seamlessly without the threat of being shut down is something that you can't really even put a price on what that's worth, right? And that's what PegNet is effectively creating the opportunity for these fund managers, but not just the fund managers, for the average user, for those who are, I'm not a fund manager. I have my own micro investments and money that I'm managing, paying my bills and taking care of my family like every other average American and civilian in the developed world around the world. And being able to, look at this and recognize these threats of, that banks and ATMs are running out of cash, or wires are not being fulfilled and timely. This all comes with repercussions. So for the average person, being able to move my values as I need to be able to manage my my finances is extraordinary. But I'm just one small person here.
Sure. And just to build on that, Kaitie, I think the big challenge is, hey, there's a real cost now with negative interest rates for people to actually continue holding that reserve. Like before, it was an asset to have $4.5 billion in an account, theoretically. And, they were getting paid, but at negative interest rates, they're paying the bank to maintain that value. To Paul's point about it slipping into a fractional reserve, like if the bank is charging them 0.5% or 1% to hold that capital, like all of a sudden it becomes a liability and they need to take more risk. They need to be holding bonds or equities or something that will get them a return, but the equity markets are way down. Like where are they going to go for low risk returns if they can't hold it in a traditional account, right? So it's going to force them to take more risk, and that leads again to the potential for it to be fractional, right? So I think that's very practical and real thing that's not in theory anymore. Like a lot of these were theoretical risks before this crisis, right? The negative interest rates, I mean, some of that had already come about the last year or so, especially in Europe and some parts of Asia. But, now it's not as theoretical as it was before, now that we're staring these issues right in the face, and it's likely to get worse before it gets better. So, you know, this couldn't be more timely for people to have an option to opt out of those broken systems into something that isn't exposed to those same systematic risks.
I couldn't agree more, David. And PegNet has been building and on mainnet for under 6 months. It's just getting going, right? It's just getting its sea legs here. And if some of these values and principles that we are speaking about resonates with anyone who's watching this, I just implore you to really, start to read, jump into the community, ask for resources or what questions you might have. And the community is active and around the world 24/7, 365, as we saw through, the holidays and New Year's. It just didn't stop. And understanding why PegNet, how it's different and why it's different, right? Because this is very intentionally done. This isn't just, oh, we fell into some luck that we happened to create an Oracle-based system of proof of work mining and, synthetic stablecoins. This is all intentional. And to understand the reasons behind those intentions is something that I implore anybody to start to investigate, understand, participate in. Yeah.
Yep. I think it's pretty critical.
Absolutely. Anything else that we might want to cover on this week's weekly update besides the toilet paper token and the economy crashing?
We talked about the wallets and all the good stuff that's coming along. And on a more serious note, there is a channel for suggesting P assets. I mean, it's ultimately up to the miners what they include. They've got to update their software to support any new pegged asset. But if you've got something that you think would be really compelling, that's over 100 million in market cap and over 5 million daily trading volume, then, put it in the channel and see if the developers and miners include it in the next update that goes out. There's also an update that's been proposed around how to sort of make it easier for P assets to get added to the network, where it's just a descriptor file that the miners use, as opposed to needing to have a full software update every time to add or subtract P assets if something falls below the requirements, for example. So I think Who and a few of the other developers have put that forth. So I think it's still under development, but looking forward to those kind of improvements that will continue to make it easier. Because I'm bullish on crypto, and I think we'll have more and more tokens over time that have $1 billion market cap. And so we're likely to see the breadth of P assets to grow over time, even just based on serving large public liquid markets. So anyway, jump on into Discord, and there's a lot of conversation going on there.
Absolutely. So the link is below, pegnet.org/chat, and that'll bring you to the Discord. That's
right. And it's worth noting, there's also now a lot of resources, and this is where I think the link for the trading tools, the wallet, the app, all that kind of thing will get added to pegnetmarketcap.com. So if you need a link to the Web3 wallet, Kibani wallet for addresses, or any of that, that's all on pegnetmarketcap.com.
Very cool. Thank you so much, David, for that. Any final words from you, Paul?
No, not really. Look forward to yet another week.
Yes, exciting times.
In isolation.
We look like we're sitting in jail cells with our wall backgrounds, don't we?
Well, my 83-year-old neighbor across the street, little Japanese lady, refers to, comes to us and, talks to us from our porch and tells us that she's in jail. So we're all in jail.
I've tried to turn it around. We're wishing neighbors happy quarantine.
Yeah.
Or happy social distancing, or thank you for social distancing.
Well, and we now have the name of the kids, the surge and bursts that will occur in 9 to 12 months, and they'll be quarantines.
Yes.
Yeah.
in 2033, the quarantines will officially
in 13 years. Yeah.
So there's no shortage of good memes going around this time, and one I saw was a kid asking his dad as he's driving, and he says, "Dad, how did my sister Paris get her name?" "Well, son, that's where your mother and I conceived her. Quarantine." That's his first name now.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh man, crazy times. But keep strong out there, everybody. Wash your hands. Wearing a mask is a good idea too. That flatten the curve. Do what you can. So.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. And until next week, actually, until we have our virtual meetup, I think that might be coming before then. So,
sweet.
Signing off. Take care. Stay safe.
Bye.